I now give the floor to the Secretary General, His Excellency, Mr. António Guterres.
Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I thank the Kingdom of the Netherlands for organizing this important debate, and I thank you, Prime Minister Mark Rutte, for presiding it. I have addressed this Council several times over the past year on peacekeeping reform. It is now time to take action together. At its best, UN peacekeeping is a remarkable enterprise of multilateralism and international solidarity. From Sierra Leone to Cambodia, Timor-Leste, Namibia, El Salvador and elsewhere, United Nations peacekeeping has helped countries move from war to peace and supported the work of civil society activists like Ms. Fatima Touré, who is with us today. In West Africa, for example, Liberia, Sierra Leone and Côte d'Ivoire are now peaceful thanks, in part, to the support of United Nations peacekeeping. And it's inspiring to see Côte d'Ivoire represented here today in this Council. 3 UN peacekeeping missions have completed their mandates and left after a job well done. This is our aim for every mission. But we all know that UN peacekeeping faces serious challenges, particularly in 4 of our largest deployments: Mali, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Central African Republic, and South Sudan. Put simply, peace operations cannot succeed if they are deployed instead of a political solution, rather than in support of one. And UN peacekeeping missions now operate in far more dangerous, complex and high-risk environments. They are under threat from armed groups, criminals and terrorists who have access to powerful modern weapons. UN peacekeepers are often under-equipped, under-prepared and unready for the dangerous environments in which they now operate. There are gaps in command and control, in culture, in equipment and in training. Our peacekeepers are vulnerable and they are targeted for attack. Last year, we lost 59 peacekeepers through malicious acts, a sharp increase since 2016, when the figure was 34. I pay tribute to the fallen. We will never forget their sacrifice. These figures are unacceptable and weigh on us all. And this is why I will spend Peacekeepers Day this year in Mali, where our mission sustained the highest casualties last year. Mr. President, we are damaging the instrument of peacekeeping and indeed multilateralism itself in creating unrealistic expectations. Lives and credibility are being lost. These challenges require strong collective action. We should focus on our efforts in 3 areas. First, to refocus peacekeeping with realistic expectations. Second, to make peacekeeping missions stronger and safer. And third, to mobilize greater support for political solutions and for well-structured, well-equipped and well-trained forces. The United Nations Secretariat has set change in motion based on the Security Council and General Assembly resolutions on sustaining peace, the Santos Cruz report, and other reviews and reports over recent years. I will provide Member States today and on a regular basis with a summary of the concrete actions that have been implemented under the responsibility of my 2 Under-Secretaries General for peacekeeping operations and for peace field support. And the document will be available in the end of the session. First, we are working to improve the safety and security of peacekeepers. We have already started to implement measures to improve the preparedness and response of missions at high risk by strengthening training, reviewing medical support, and addressing performance issues. Second, we are conducting independent reviews of our peacekeeping missions aimed at refining their priorities and configuration while assessing the viability of mandates and political processes. The reviews are aimed at ensuring we have well-trained, well-equipped peacekeepers that are mobile and agile and can be proactive in dealing with challenges and threats. Too often in the past, Our troops have been reduced to waiting in a defensive posture, giving hostile forces time and space to plan attacks. Third, I have launched a new approach to sexual exploitation and abuse by ensuring that victims have a clear way to report allegations and working with troop and police contributing countries to address allegations and impunity and prevent future cases. I'm encouraged that 90 countries have joined the Compact on Preventing Sexual Exploitation and Abuse. I've appointed a system-wide victims' rights advocate who is working closely with governments and civil society. 4 more victims' rights advocates are now working in the peacekeeping missions, where there have been the highest number of allegations of sexual exploitation and abuse. And I've invited heads of state and government to join a circle of leadership, a visible and powerful symbol of our joint commitment to prevent and end this scourge. Fourth, my reforms on the peace and security architecture should result in better analysis, stronger support to troop and police contributors, more effective political engagement, and enhanced accountability and transparency as requested by many of you. The overall goal of the reforms is to improve our capacities to prevent conflict and to sustain peace. Mr. President, these efforts are critical, but action by the Secretariat alone is not enough to meet the challenges we face. Our chances of success increase dramatically when we work together with Member States and share burdens, risks, and responsibilities. We urgently need a quantum leap in collective engagement. This is why I'm launching a new initiative, Action for Peacekeeping, aimed at mobilizing all partners and stakeholders to support the great enterprise of United Nations peacekeeping. As peacekeeping marks its 70th anniversary, I hope we can develop a set of mutually agreed principles and commitments to create peacekeeping operations fit for the future. This will be elaborated with our partners, including at a high-level side event on the margin of the General Assembly in September. And I hope we can reach a formal agreement by the end of the year. And I thank the Netherlands and Côte d'Ivoire for moving this effort forward, and I encourage all Council members and all our partners for peace to join. As we build this agreement together, I have 6 immediate requests for Member States. First, I urge Security Council members to sharpen and streamline mandates. Please put an end to mandates that look like Christmas trees. Christmas is over, and the United Nations mission in South Sudan cannot possibly implement 209 mandated tasks. By attempting too much, we dilute our efforts and weaken our impact. I hope our mission reviews will help to end this mandate inflation. Second, I call on Member States to sustain your political engagement and push for political solutions and inclusive peace processes, including through bilateral diplomacy and sanctions if necessary. A peacekeeping operation is not an army or a counter-terrorist force or a humanitarian agency. It is a tool to create the space for a nationally owned political solution. Monsieur le Président,
President, third, I ask you to continue building and strengthening partnerships with regional organizations. The African Union is one of our most important partners, and I thank His Excellency, the Chairperson of the AU Commission, Mr. Moussa Faki Mohamed, for being here with us today. Political partnerships are critical, particularly when a United Nations mission is deployed to support a peace process facilitated by other actors, as is the case in South Sudan with IGAD and the African Union. Operational partnerships with regional or sub-regional partners are vital for peace enforcement or counter-terrorism missions, when United Nations peacekeeping is not the right response. I encourage you to back these initiatives with strong mandates and predictable, sustained funding. Our partnership with the African Union in Somalia offers important lessons. The G5 Sahel presents similar advantages, and I urge you once again to give it your full support, to provide it with all it needs as a mission in order to ensure that it is successful. Triangular partnerships between this Council, troop and police contributing countries, and the Secretariat are also a vital part of reinforcing our support to peacekeeping. Fourth, I appeal to peacekeeping's leadership and to the personnel, civilian, military and police, to come ready to deliver. Caveats imposed by troop and police contributing countries should have no place in our operations. Special representatives, force commanders and police commissioners must take responsibility for ensuring a clear, functional and responsive chain of command and control. Troop and police contributing countries and their partners have a duty to improve the level of training and preparedness of peacekeepers. I thank all those who contribute. I hope you have seen our videos showcasing the dedication, service and sacrifice of blue helmets from different countries around the world. But we cannot continue as a patchwork of personnel with varied approaches and mindsets. I welcome innovative arrangements, for example, triangular partnerships between the United Nations, donors who provide equipment and training, and troop and police contributing countries. Said triangular partnerships enable us to better equip and better train troops and to do so more cost-effectively. United Nations peacekeepers must aim for the highest standards across the board. Fifth, I urge you to uphold your responsibility to align human and financial resources with mandates. I am totally committed to budget discipline and to making peacekeeping more cost-effective. But arbitrary cuts undermine efforts to implement ambitious and comprehensive mandates. In Mali, there have been more than 140 deaths since MINUSMA was established in 2013. How can blue helmets operate in this environment when they lack nearly 100 of the armoured personnel carriers they need? How can our peacekeepers in the Central African Republic deploy to remote parts of the country without any of the ground-to-air communications equipment they need? In our peacekeeping operations overall, 15 field hospitals are either not deployed or not functioning. Many of these gaps are in the most hostile environments, including in northern Mali. These shortfalls reduce mobility, medical support and communications capacity. They severely impair our peacekeepers' ability and confidence to actively prevent conflict and engage hostile forces. We also face critical shortages of appropriate personnel. Gender balance contributes directly to greater operational effectiveness and credibility, but we repeatedly ask for more women military officers and troops, and more women police. We also need experienced leaders, skilled technicians, logistics and air assets, and equipment, including intelligence capabilities. Sixth and finally, I call on host countries to provide full consent and active cooperation to peacekeeping operations. That includes holding the perpetrators of attacks on peacekeepers accountable and addressing impediments to full freedom of movement. For peacekeeping operations to be successful, parties to the conflict must want peace and commit to a political process. When the will of host countries wavers, United Nations member states, led by this Security Council, must use all incentives and all influence to bring the peace process back on track. President, I believe we all know what is required for peacekeeping to succeed. I count on your engagement and support to meet our joint commitments. I thank you.
I thank His Excellency the Secretary General for his briefing.